Hello. That should be working now. Thanks for the pointer there about the lack of audio. I use OBS for recording videos and streaming, and I change the settings between both, so I forgot to toggle some things back over. Much apologies. Yes, as I was saying, today we'll be painting a flaming dragon. Trying to get him up to this sort of standard from last time. Colors I'll be using be Wild Rider Red and Dirty Yellow for the most part, just mixing between the two. And I have some of that Beal Tan blend on my palette already, which is rather convenient. You cannot read my hand signs, Alfarius. Very true. I saw your comment about the copyright claiming me just for taking the suggestion of using your stream name. And honestly, I don't think that's very Alpha Legion. Some may say that would be hypocritical of an Alpha Legion guy to be into copyright claiming. Any hoomst, let's begin just layering up some Wild Rider Red. I think that's what's on here now. It looks like it was thinly applied, probably with some glazing medium. So let's just build upon that. Hopefully the lighting is okay. I don't usually stream during this time, but I imagine it should be better. Right? Lighting should be a bit better. Flaming dragon, so he's a flamer. I thought he was a fire dragon because he's shit hot. I call him a flaming dragon because I like the Tropic Thunder reference. Artel names this model something differently, but it'll count as a Eldar fire dragon, of course. George! Hey, roadmap. New aspects next year? Yes, if I did that roadmap on a job, I would not have a job. Yep. Yeah, I kind of like, I don't know, I was so disappointed with the stream. And on the stream, I couldn't find, like, I don't believe, unless I missed it, because I was painting a little bit while I was watching, right? But I don't believe they showed the actual roadmap on the stream when Stu was being interviewed. And so I was looking for it, and I couldn't find it at first. And then I found it. I was disappointed already, is my point. And then I found the roadmap, and I was like, oh my god, what is this? This is useless. New aspects next year. That's kind of cool. I assume we'll get Karandras, maybe one more aspect, and another Phoenix Lord. But I feel like that's such high expectations, honestly. I feel like that's way too high. Kit Bash, Carnage, how's it going? You're in work halfway through a 16-hour shift. Seen you on, thought you'd say hi. Well, I appreciate that. And hello. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I have normally I actually do some playing of Warhammer on Sundays, so I'm not streaming during this time, but summer times are busy. I have well, it's barbecue season. That's the short of it. So I'll have a bit of a barbecue in the evening, and I figured I'd do a stream, get some hobby time in, maybe share that with you guys, sharing the hobby camaraderie. No 40k releases or anything until next year. Weird, something's not right. Yeah, that is a little odd, right? Usually they drip feed the content pretty consistently. Oh man, I'm noticing like mold lines. How embarrassing. How embarrassing. I feel like I ought to clean that up. Okay, any other mold lines to spot? Don't believe so. Yeah, just up here. Fugan, Karandras, or even Asterman would be amazing, but it'll probably get lame-ass Baharoth instead. Oh, no! Why do you hate Baharoth? I think he's pretty cool. But, in fairness, the ones you've listed ahead of him are cooler. I think that's safe to say. My fear, not my fear, it's such a dramatic turn of phrase, right? I would be slightly perturbed if they release Osterman and he's on a 50mm base because he's like the big cheese of the Aspect Warriors, or of the Phoenix Lords rather. Because I based mine on, I put my Osterman on a 40 to make him consistent with his bros, right? But I guess I could always rebase him. Or just screw it, right? Just play. Just play with your toys. Maybe that's better. Respect the work you've done thus far. That's probably a better model. Okay, let's try and clean up this mold line. Asterman will be on a 40mm for sure. Oh, I hope so. I would love to see all Phoenix Lords on 40s. Nice and consistent. What if they do something stupid, like put one of them on a oval, like a Warpsmith? God. I hate that. I hate how the Warpsmith's on a stupid oval. I have one I wanted to make for the Word Bearers, because when that Eldar Warpsmith box set came out, I scooped that up after the fact. But, so I have a Warpsmith, but I told myself if I ever got to realizing him for the tabletop, I'd put him on a 40. I don't care. I would be very, I'd actually really love if Shadow Specters could get a plastic kit. Some people may be perturbed because that's not a priority aspect in a sense, but I really like Shadow Specters. Headphones being weird? Is it my headphones? Maybe I'll turn up my gain. How is it? Oh, it's a little up. It's a little uppity, right? Sometimes my microphone is facing this way, and sometimes I'm looking this way because that's where my paints are. So maybe that's an issue. Or maybe that's the cause for your headphones being weird, Alfarius. You already made your Warpsmith for your Word Bearers. Green stuff, tentacles, and all kit bash. Nice. Yeah, that's a good approach. He's like a Warpsmith that's more Demon Engine like evocative, right? He's kind of a blend of demon and machine himself. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool spin for a Word Bearer's Warpsmith. I just had a head swap in mind. That's all. Nothing too fancy. Head swap and a base swap. Okay. You know, for this this fire dragon, I had on this one I painted here. I had a kind of experimental plan for this helmet where I used yellow ink, and I don't love the look I'm wondering if I should try contrast, because I do have some leftover Generation 1 yellow contrast. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's maybe Eandon yellow. But I wonder if that would look better, or if I should just build up flash kits over like a Steel Legion base. Maybe that's like the safe route. I mean, contrast is pretty thin, so you can always paint over that with minimal damage, so to speak, with regards to paint thickness, right? Not too many soft seals on this guy. Figured I'd hit them because I have some black pigment on the brush. Might as well. Might as well hit those softer seals. Oh, and the face mask, right? That's a fire dragon thing. Just want to layer up this gun, and then I'll take a look at chat in a sec. His blaster. I actually can't remember what this weapon's called. It's a fusion gun. Dragon fusion gun? Yeah, that sounds right. I hope they bring back Ghost Assassins for Eldar. That could be interesting. Eldar heavy infantry with halberds. Think warlocks, no psyker, with Dark Reaper armor. That could be interesting. An aspect warrior. Will it be an aspect warrior? That's what he said, right? Paint games, I don't know anything. Welcome to the chat. Tyrannids to nom bye-bye. Malantane tasty. Let's see here. Painting neon green striking scorpions. Nice. Fine jeweler's wire and cotton wool for a effect coming from gun, but paint it yellow. Might be a good contrast to your yellow helmet. Just thinking out loud. I appreciate the suggestion. I'm not exactly desiring making these guys more fancy, just because I just kind of want to dedicate that hobby time to painting them to a nicer standard, because I like Eldar looking pretty. I think it's like thematically apt, kind of like how it's thematically apt for Death Guard to be a bit dirty, you know? And I have to, in terms of conversion, Francois' suggestion on a previous stream to add a barrel banner to the Swooping Hawk is much more necessary for my sensibilities. What did I paint this? Oh, metal. Okay. Okay. try and layer up some of that Wild Rider back here. Oh my god, it's so hot here. It's like the sun. The sun. I hate the sun. It's too hot. It's like a sweat rag, like a surgeon, just dabbing. Oh, look at that gradient is yellow. I want to keep this guy down here. To get some more yellow towards the bottom. I see. And you know what? Looking at the colors, it seems like there's a bit of Evil Sun Scarlet in the blend too, towards the upper, well, I guess the darker end of the gradient. Well, it does afford a lot of room to play in terms of values. Soft seal, look at that. Look at that soft seal. And I nicked the tabard. That's okay, we gotta layer that up to a brighter green anyways, but gotta hit those soft seals. Yeah, that's why you should do those first. Maybe an unpopular opinion, but Space Marines are boring, more boring than Imperial Guard. I think it's probably just a matter of preference, honestly. And there's nothing wrong with thinking that, right? Like, different factions appeal to different people. That's why I like having so many factions. That's why I like 40k over Horus Heresy, because I think it's... because it's more diverse, man. That's why. It's funny. Yeah, Ultramarines and Imperial Fist often get labeled by being boring because they don't have as strong of a hook as the other chapters, like Iron Hands being into robots and all that jazz, right? Salamanders being fire guys, but there are strong themes and quirks, I suppose you could say, for all the chapters, all the legions. I kind of feel that way about every faction and army. There's always a neat spin that's on the table that they offer. Yeah, Francois has a good point about that. In 10th edition, you do see less of the things that make chapters unique and thematic, right? Like in Horus Heresy, that's much more on the surface. In 40k, you kind of have to take a competitive hit, and maybe that's true of Horus Heresy as well. I don't know, honestly. But I think at the very least the chapters are more, the chapters and legions rather, or just, they're not even chapters, they're just all legions. The legions in Horus Heresy certainly stand out a bit better. I think that's fair to say. Henrietta! Oh my goodness. For 10... What is this? What is this currency symbol? How do I determine this? For 10! Well, we'll say $10 dues. How about that? Painting a Death Skull boy. How would you improve a flat color of Korax white? Half his face is Macragge blue, and the other is Korax white. The white is stumping me. Well, firstly, Henrietta, thank you kindly for the generous super chat. How would I... So my recipe for white is a bit of a cheat, I suppose. I use an off-white. In GW terms, I use Celestra Gray. I've since stopped using that color, just only because of price convenience, and I found that I was using off-white to mix with everything. Like, I'm being hyperbolic. Anyways, I use an off-white base for my whites, right? Right now I'm mixing these two colors, and what I do is once you have a solid coat of this, and, you know, build it up over thin coats, because white pigments tend to be fairly chalky, I like to use, let me see if I have it here, I do. Colia Green Shade over my white colors, and then I dilute it with Lamian Medium, or, you know, you can use another alternative medium to dilute your washes. And I find that this gives it a cool undertone. I like my whites cool. That's a funny sentence to say. Anyways, after the wash is applied, I layer back up with that Celestra Gray, and I usually mix in a bit more of a off-white, or you could use a pure white as well. You're mixing it in so it shouldn't be too awkward to use. It shouldn't be too chalky as white pigments tend to be. That is my tried and true, I suppose, way to handle white helmets. You can see it on my Salamander's Veterans. Do I have anything here? I have on my painting desk here, I have my Autarch, but that's a different recipe altogether. It's using white contrast over like a zenithal, so it doesn't I don't think that's applicable for what you're describing with a half colored helmet, like a two-tone helmet. Hope that answers your question. Again, thanks for the super chat. Very much appreciated. George Nids, I feel, needs more units. Maybe. I think there's lots of creative potential for Nids, obviously, because they're bugs that evolve for every purpose you can imagine. I kind of wish there were just rules to allow you to create whatever you wanted and put weapons and spawn mutations and all this kind of stuff. To really kind of fuel that creativity that Nids would... You know, if I have a Hive Fleet called Hive Fleet Gengar, and I wanted to lean a certain way and evolve, pun intended, I guess, a certain way, I kind of wish there were rules to incentivize me to build some ghastly hunter kind of, you know, lictors or something to that effect, right? Google Not. Welcome to the stream. Just saw your message. I'm catching up on chat. How have you been enjoying 10th edition? I haven't played since 8th. Now I just hobby. How have I been enjoying 10th? Okay, so I guess it's a complicated question. I enjoy playing the core rules of 10th more than 9th. From just a core rules layer, I like it more, but I'm so saddened by especially for my Space Marines, and this speaks to the video I've released recently, just by the loss of all the thematic options in 10th, right? Like all the bloat that was cut, bloat in air quotes, from 9th to 10th, a lot of flavor was in that bloat, and they're probably, not be crazy, right? They're probably a way to preserve that narrative flair, those thematic flavorful options, without having it be so bloated, right? Or like I suggested in my video, maybe you have a core rules layer that has the bloat, right? That has all the options, and then on the tournament side of things, you say, okay, here's the list of things that are exempted. Chapter Masters, whatever, War Gear, etc., etc. Yes, Nids need new Gargoyles, Warriors, and bring in the Red Terror, Doom of Malantine. Yeah, that's a great point. The Raveners look a little funny, right? Don't they? They look a bit smooth-bodied, right? A little too Play-Doh-y, maybe? Compared to the new models, especially. The new models look really nice. No Chapter Masters, great vid, by the way. Thank you. Thank you. George says, pounds. Well, yes. You can tell how many super chats I get. I don't, I'm not familiar with the currencies. Okay. Francois says, Henrietta painted like right first to make your shadows under your white and add a touch of light yellow. Yep. Flying Nid Warriors? Hell yeah. Bring back Shrikes. You want to have, ideally, right, for Nids, I feel like you want to have the ability for someone to say, I want to have a Hive Fleet where they've evolved specifically for, like, aerial warfare, right? And everything has wings. In the same way, you could have, a Blood Angels all jump pack, kind of, or, you know what I mean? Like, you'd have that capacity, right? Kind of like how White Scars used to have the ability to have all bikes. I mean, you kind of can now, but it's a bit weird because you only have a chaplain, I think. I can't remember if the Khan on bike is it still in Legends, or is it just gone completely? But I think you get my point. Stone Crusher Carnifexes need a comeback. Oh boy, now you're getting me excited. Carnifexes need a kind of a size increase. I don't love that the Screamer Killer is just so big. The Carnifex is so small. But I think you're kind of caught in an awkward situation, right? It almost feels like you need to make a variant strain of the classic design to the scale of the new Screamer Killer, and then let the old model be a squadronable, like, medium monster. And then you can still have the glorious classic looking Carnifexes that are Lechonk. Let's, still a lot of gray showing through, which is certainly not what I'd want for a very vibrant unit like a Fire Dragon. Going for that classic aesthetic, Though I do think you probably could have a charred, volcanic-looking scheme for fire dragons, that would look pretty awesome. Well, yeah, I just mungled that. Okay, cool. Paint Games says, my own custom high fleet is all about infiltrators and assassin bugs. Yep, I'm into it. I'm into that theme, that shtick. I do like the Tyranids Codex has that affordance in there, as a detachment at least, but I don't know, I feel like so often I'm disappointed by the Tyranids rules. I think, and this applies to many Xenos factions as well, but perhaps best exemplified by Tyranids is that I feel like their rules, there's so much creative potential there that I feel like their rules could be really, you know, alien in a sense, right? Like you have some really unorthodox design sensibilities and even common rules, right? Like maybe like Tyranid weapons shouldn't use the universal basic rules that the Imperium of Man and its chaos derivatives use. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's some wild potential there that could be done, you know, in a very tasteful manner, you know? Or if you must have the same universal basic rules, maybe you have weird combinations of effects you don't typically see. So when you think about like the Tyranids weapons, they're so unique because they are creatures unto themselves a lot of the time. Oh god, I am just hitting everything. Look, no journey is without peril, right? Sometimes you gotta break a few eggs, as they say. Okay, let's bump up the vibrancy a bit. Try and cover up that gray layer. George says, at with the 40k, like the jean sneakers from Necromunda. Those look alien and weird. Yes! Yes, indeed. The jean sneakers. Kind of like that. I almost like that better. Yeah, they are an interesting design choice. Like a degenerated fungal. I don't know the lore specifically. I skimmed the Warhammer community article and I was like, oh, these are neat, and then I kind of left it at that. Partially because of bias. My Tyranid high fleet isn't really focused on gene stealers all too much. But I think that that's a cool idea. Very interesting. Jeez. Paint Game says, I love that I can move 10 to 12 inches, advance and charge, and fall back and charge as Vanguard Onslaught rules. Yeah, that's apt, right? You want to be incredibly versatile. Very, very flexible, very dynamic. I think that's appropriate for a Vanguard style army. This past week, I was able to get a game in against my buddy's Votan, and I haven't played Votan in forever, but man, I love. So like, I don't really like the aesthetic of their armor necessarily. I mean, it has to be different, and I'm happy that it's not overly cool for starters, right? So maybe it's fine in that sense, but I adore, like, genuinely the look of their weapon aesthetics. They look so like chef's kiss. It's like everything I'd want in a sci-fi, a mechanical, like a revolver bolt gun. Like, it's so cool. It's so cool. I think if you're into weapon aesthetics, Votan has a lot to offer. And as far as sci-fi gun designs, I much prefer the look of theirs than the Tao's weapons, which are... I don't know how to describe the Tao's weapons. It's very boxy, very kind of... everything's encased, so you don't see any interesting features. Or maybe not nearly as many. George says a Crusher Hive would be my pick. Warriors with crushing claws, Gaunts with little crushing talons, basically the word crush. Just crab claws everywhere. I like it. That's a fun lane too, right? And like when you're talking about Tyranids, like, they're not bound by force organization the way Marines and Guard are. With like, oh, you can't equip this. This is only for Terminators, right? I mean, to be frank, if it's your dudes, to a degree, you can kind of circumvent that kind of way of thinking about your army's war gear. But Nids, for sure, should not care at all. Just evolve whatever you want, whatever's useful at the time, and then that creates a kind of identity for your hive fleet. That's strain or whatever. My buddy Tavish, he has a lot of army ideas, and he was playing with this concept for a Tyranid army that was all barbed strangler, like all kind of seed pod, I guess that's the word, right? And then you could have like a heavy vegetative kind of basing scheme. Like, oh, it's a super cool idea. So much creative potential for Nids that is like just left on the table. Crab is the future. Crab is future. In the end, we'll all be crab. Love it. something I wish, like, I don't know, like the Hive Guard. I wish Hive Tyrants could lead or pair with Hive Guard and just like be a DACA support kind of command squad for a shooty Hive Tyrant, right? And I kind of, and this might be an out of the box idea, but I would love if such a relationship were to exist between Hive Guard and a Hive Tyrant, where if the Hive Tyrant can see a target, the Hive Guard fire as if they were firing directly. Like, well, ignore the indirect penalties would be the way I would you'd word it. Because it's all connected, right? It's all synapse, and I feel like, personally, a Hive Tyrant should be in a pretty strong communicative capacity with something called Hive Guard. That seems pretty reasonable. So yeah, like no other army really has that kind of unit relationship. So then you get some interesting unit interactions that are like, wow, that feels pretty alien. Which is, I think, a win for Tyranids. They should be the most alien, right? This is a groove I want to emphasize for sure. That's a good contrast point. Oh, George has found the crab emojis. Crab supremacy. Well, crab battle, here we go. Give me the Hive Guard from Dawn of War 2 with massive fists. Nice. Yeah, I don't think Hive Guard should be bad. I would just like Tyrant Guard. I don't think Tyrant Guard should be bad. It's just different kinds of guard organisms, right? And right now, it feels like only one of them is really able to guard a Hive Tyrant. We gotta bump that yellow up. We have a ways to go. It's always a fun process trying to rediscover how you've painted something. Paint Game says, I had an idea to bring back Lookout Sir rule to the Tyrant Guard. Make them able to protect the Hive Tyrant without locking them. Interesting. Kind of like a lone op within 6 inches idea, like with the Primarchs. That sort of approach. free intervention if Hive Guard is close to Tyrant, or if Tyrant moves, Guard moves with it for free. That's Ricky Yellowing to pump those pigments up. Yep. Very much that energy. Very much. This is only dirty yellow. I haven't gone to flashies in the blend, but don't want to overdo it. Maybe flash gets will just be an edge highlighting color. Maybe that's the way to go. Yeah, certainly a much slower process of painting than the warp spiders, it feels like. But, in fairness, I'm basically starting with a higher resolution here. In terms of the warp spider painting flow for those streams was like, let's just get them table ready. Like here, we're getting right into blending. So maybe it's all the same. There's just something very satisfying about Fire Dragon. I don't know, that gradient. I feel like it just looks so eye-catching. Really captures my monkey brain. If you get my meaning. Kind of like color shift paints. You're just like, oh wow, look at that. Pain Game says, it's sad because right now it's pointless to buy the Tyrant Guard kit. Neither options are good, and they are expensive. Yeah, I guess that's Warhammer. But yeah, neither options are good. I hate, to assume conspiracy. I generally like to assume it's ignorance or just bad design, but I don't know. As more time goes on, I get more and more, I guess, conspiracy brained about rules being bad because they were good previously. We'll see. We'll see if Grav is good in the next edition. And then there's some new Primaris Grav Squad, the Gravitors or whatever. I'll be forever convinced. I don't need any more evidence after that. Alfarius, you gotta do boring stuff. You take care. Thanks for tuning in, Alfarius. Good to see you. Thanks for the great suggestion of the stream name, by the way. You get credit for that. Hail, Alfarius. And have a good Sunday. Cheers, man. I need to get some more Evil Sun Scarlet for those darker spots. Probably dilute this a little bit with some glazing medium. That seems probably the right call. Maybe you're mixing a bit of black too. Oh, this is really dark. The darkest of reds. Let's see though. Maybe that contrast is what I want. Yeah, so far it's been like 2 for 2 the last... Sorry, 2 for 2 with regards to Warhammer previews being boring, like sequentially. I mean, I don't want to say I was expecting 40k stuff. I think everyone knew ahead of time that last preview was going to be more of a Age of Sigmar type of preview. But with regards to the expectations of roadmaps, I think that's fair to judge. Judge it as a Whiffleton, right? Bit of a whiffer of a preview. Don't talk about Grav. Got a Leviathan Dread and a Grav weapon rule hurts my soul. Yeah. Yeah, the Grav Flux Bombard is vastly disappointing. Like, it's... Is there a worse example of a weapon with just rules that are so plainly counter to what the, efficacy should be? I can't think of one that comes to mind more so. I don't know. What do you guys think? This is just a wild thought, but think if all the endless multitude nids within 6 inches can... Oh shoot, my cursor's in the way. Within 6 inches on a 6 can take the hit on a higher value model. Oh, I see, like a heavy lookout surf for endless multitude units for signups. I mean, if it's a stratagem, I think there's a tasteful mechanic in there that feels very apt for Tyranids, reacting with moving the swarm instinctively in defense of a perceived threat. That feels very cinematic, very alien. Francois' opinion on gold, I kind of agree. Without getting into the details of it, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you actually want gold, though. Maybe you want to buy gold for some sort of industrial purpose. Maybe it's a useful element for you, perhaps, or you just like shiny stuff. That appeals to me. In a perfect world, GW would release a good bundle boxes of new minis, and all rules would be free and online. Yes. Yeah. I wonder what the timeline, or I wonder what GW looks like in the timeline where they never became a publicly traded company. I'm curious what that would be. Would we have worse models because of it, or less production? I guess so. But maybe we have a better ecosystem for the game and the rules? Likely. I don't know. I'm obviously biased in that regard. That's the timeline I think I would prefer. Francois says he played a Leviathan with double Graflux Bombards yesterday versus Necrons. Kicked a lot of ass versus infantry. I did roll hot, though. The Cyclonic Meltalance. Oh, yep. That's that's another one, George. Yeah, that, in the beginning of the edition, I looked at that and I was like, I have no desire to put my slightly converted Leviathan on the table. It's, very underwhelming. The lore for Neurogons are they jump into enemy fire to protect higher value Tyranids. Yes, that is true. So maybe that's I guess that's the idea behind them being a bodyguard unit for the Neuro Tyrant. That's an interesting design space, actually, for Neurogons. Because you're never really going to use them for anything substantive, right? Darwining, welcome. Hello. Thanks for tuning in. Probably go for like another hour or so more of hopping. Then I have a barbecue I'm looking forward to. I'm saving myself, okay, for this barbecue. I'm not eating at all until until I get that sweet, sweet barbecue. It's gonna be good. Oh shoot. Okay, this guy, how is his arms? The gradient on the arms are basically located on the center, which I suppose makes sense. What are you working on, Darwining? Share your hobby pursuits to fuel the hobby camaraderie for us all. By giving narrowed gaunts the rule to jump into enemy fire, they would actually become more flavorful and actually lore accurate. Yeah, I think so. I think so. A really interesting utility piece, kind of the way Rippers were. God, Rippers are another one. I loved, and mind you, I wasn't playing Tyrants at the time, but just from a thematic list build, like flavor point of view, I loved 8th edition's like High Fleet Chronos jank with Rippers being like vector points for your capacity to reach out and spook people with your psychic abilities. Or no, I think it was a stratagem with your Deepest Shadow stratagem. Just the coolest, right? And look, that feels very alien. No other armies are doing that with a single model that can pop up somewhere. It's not a threat, but you can use it with a stratagem to inflict some pretty substantive consequences if it's not dealt with, right? That is very cool. Jesus, I am... Was that on camera? No. I'm like just dripping. Hold on. I gotta dab. It's too hot. The sunlight. Curse the sun. It's too... These fire dragons, they're just cranking up that temperature, you know? Let's catch up on chat here. Give Big Nids a feel no pain type bodyguard rule. On a 6+, any 25 to 28mm Nid within 3 inches can take a wound instead. 5+ for... Oh, okay, I see. 5+ for 32 to 40mm Nids within 3 inches. And that is interesting. I guess it creates a dynamic where your enemy is really forced to... Well, it changes your enemy's target priority and target allocation, because they're going to want to get rid of your small stuff before shooting your big stuff, because it's pointless, right? You're kind of creating an 8th edition Tau drone paradigm, if I'm recalling correctly. That's how drones were, right? They were separate units. You take loads of them, and people would be like, oh, I'm going to put this on a drone. Now, because you're having to roll for it, it's much more tasteful. It's measured in a sense, right? So I think it's not nearly as problematic. And it does feel alien, which is cool. I like it. I like it. That could be a detachment mechanic in itself, right? If you think about it. Darwining says, I watched your video about chapter masters and pretty much most of what you said about GW and tournament players, but I think I would add they want to get new players into the tourney pipeline. Yeah, probably. Right? I don't know. I was kind of, I don't want to say triggered. Maybe. I noticed and felt feelings when I saw the roadmap, and like on the roadmap, it's, I'm paraphrasing, but it says something to the effect of, with the Blood Angels Codex now out, it's time to wait and see how the meta unfolds, and watch how the Warhammer World Championships unfold. I'm like, Jesus, I could not care less, actually, about how the Warhammer World Championships go. Like, so yeah, maybe I was a teensy, a little bit triggered. Yeah, I guess, when they're framing things in that way, having MetaWatch articles front and center, it does shift the perception. It's certainly what they're focusing on, right? Now, they did release a Crusade book with the Pariah Nexus deck, right? Or is that way in advance? I'm just so out of the loop on Crusade. From what I gather, Crusade is still under-supported. Certainly by comparison, I think that's a safe assumption. But, like, if Crusade, for all its faults, was supported to the same degree, then I don't think there's as much grounds for criticism. Like, if at the start of the edition, every faction got a Crusade index, like how they all got a matched play detachment index with all your flavorful, not flavorful, sorry, the Crusade index would have your flavorful paths for upgrading in that system, right? So you're not waiting till 2025 for your Eldar Crusade rules. Now, I'm saying this not having seen that book that came out, the Pariah Crusade book. If that is effectively providing what I'm talking about here, then I guess it renders this point moot. I don't know. Do you guys follow Crusade? Because that video, it's doing fairly well, the Chapter Master video, and there's a lot of comments there, and most of which is in agreement, but there's some pushback, and I was kind of curious about the positions they were taking. And I got the impression that, even if Crusade is a good system that has the flavor you want as a narrative, as a thematic player, you could say, my playgroup certainly isn't really down for such an involved amount of bookkeeping just for the flavor we already had. That we could just walk up to the table and, roll some dice, put your Chapter Master down, put your Master of Sanctity, or, your Tyranid Vugs with his hyper adaptations, or biomorphic, whatever they were called, right? So Crusade still has that. Yeah, that's one of the I didn't list it in the video, but that's another one of its disincentives, right? It's kind of like it hamstrings itself, because now we have to get on board with this large kind of different or additional system that kind of I don't want to, like, and also I don't want to track my injuries and honors from game to game unless I'm doing a campaign, right? And even in the campaign that I did organize with my local play group, it's like, nobody, we didn't do injuries. This is too much. Just track some XP, unlock some units, feel like, you know, a sense of progression. It's good enough. Not everyone wants to track, like, Mordheim levels of minutia across 2,000 plus points of models. Focusing a lot on this guy's legs, and I feel like I'm neglecting his upper body, which is good. You know, you don't want to neglect the legs. You don't want to be one of those guys, certainly. But the torso, shoulders, they do need some definition. Let's catch up on chat here. Watch some guys competitive kumbaya on some circles. Kind of like Tau drones, but nothing has to be attached. Can be any bug except another big bug. You can modify your odds based on what you swarm with. I think it's certainly interesting. I don't have... Oh, don't worry, I have a bit of fire and ire towards 2. Oh, George. George says the new boarding actions is already broken. Example, Space Marine Apothecary loses its abilities. So now he's just a dude with a pistol. Oh, no. No! But why would... So boarding actions modifies data sheets similar to Combat Patrol? Maybe, hear me out, maybe with the release of New Kill Team and the release of boarding actions, GW wants us all to jump on those trains. So they don't release anything else for 40k. Maybe that's the ploy. The strategic ploy, if you will. Thick tights save lives. Fire Dragon motto. I suppose so. I don't think I have any females in this unit. So that's the state of them. That's okay though. There's a lot of I basically opted for female models in almost every place I could with the Eldars because I have the option. So I don't mind having a few aspects that are a bit more male-dominated. I think that adds more variety, makes them a little bit special relative to others. Never skip leg day, Fire Dragon Moto 2. Yeah, I'll take that one. Running a bit low on the pigments on the wet palette. Get some dirty yellow going, and I think I need a bit more Fire Dragon. I know, Wild Rider. I think there is an orange called Fire Dragon, though. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any orange paint pots or dropper bottles, so I just have to kind of make your own. I guess Wild Rider is orange. It's on its way to orange, right? Like, look at this. Compared to Evil Sun Scarlet. Wonder if a wash would actually do some work in these shoulder pads. Since they have those scales, those bumps, maybe it could do some work for me. Maybe we'll do a little test. Francois, you had to drop off your neighbor at the airport this morning at 5 a.m.? Well, you know, good for you. You're being a good neighbor. Good on you. And you're off to take a nap? Well, you have a good Sunday. Have a good rest and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. You take care. Thanks for tuning in. Where's my red wash? Let's test out this Koroberg Crimson. You know, I know it's yet to dry, but I think that already is bringing out some detail in those scales. So maybe we'll lean into that. Oh, I guess you guys can't see it too well. Yeah, kind of, well, geez, the focus, come on. Oh boy, my stream. This whole time I've been on the wrong This is what I'm talking about. Here we go. There. That's better, right? That's more professional. Jesus. This is what happens. I changed my OBS settings to record some of those, that hobby capture for the Chapter Master video, and yeah, there it is. Okay, so yeah, that looks more like a live stream, right? I guess it's not the biggest loss because YouTube does have the live chat, but I kind of like having the side panel. It's kind of cool. Okay, so I am tempted to try and build up a nice yellow helmet for these fire dragons using a Steel Legion base to dirty yellow to flash gets. So let's see if that path bears fruit. So I didn't especially like the yellow ink I tried on the previous model. Maybe I should have tested it on a canister instead of the helmet first, but you know, sometimes you gotta be bold. I do have a bit of this AK Vibrant Green on my palette still. I think it's alive. So let's try and use that before it's expired. I noticed the GW example fire dragons have their tapestries or their cloths kind of in a black color, but I want to flex that Beal Tan allegiance, which I think is always a fun puzzle to source out for your aspect warriors. Yeah, green is definitely adding that contrast, which I like. It's doing work. Oh, just catching up on chat here. Martin, welcome to the chat. Oi, my man, looks amazing. Do tell, how many armies do you have besides the pointy ears? Well, if you look at my YouTube channel banner, you can see little. I guess depending on the device you're using, it may not display. So that's worth. That could be a factor. Let me see here. There's 6. We have a pointy ears. We have a small collection of custodies. Word bearers / demons, which are, I guess, similar in size to the custodies. Salamanders, which are quite large. Well, salamander successors, technically. And Tyranids, which are what's painted in the High Fleet Gengar scheme is, I'd say, about 2,000 or so points. And then I have some old models from the before time, which I'll probably never paint. They're in like a blue and orange, or it was blue carapace, beige skin, I guess you could call it, exoskeleton, and orange, like a bright orange to contrast the blue. Scythes and sharps. And it was a fine color scheme, but I don't know. I didn't really have a theme for that. And I kind of fell out of love with that army because there was no theme or direction really for them. And then, I don't know, I just, inspiration struck with High Fleet Gengar as a scheme and theme, and I was like, let's just redo some of these guys, convert some cool bugs. Though I do have a bunch of Horus Heresy Age of Darkness guys that I'm sitting on with regards to what to do with them. Do tell then which one of the 6 is the current favorite to find the lack of orcs disturbing. Look, I was close. I was real close to making an orc army, and it wouldn't be like a massive wall or anything, but it would have essentially have been like a Metal Gear Solid inspired. Well, it's part of the reason why I have that one. You can find the YouTube short of it, a Metal Gear, like a big boss, war boss, I believe the video is called. Or no, it's a short, and I don't have many shorts, so you can find a rotation of it. It might not be called that at all, but that's what I've been calling that model. Because I converted a war boss to look like Big Boss, and I think he looks fucking great. It just sparks so much joy, as arcs tend to do, right? Yeah, you could just imagine a bunch of like orcs in like sneaking suits trying to be stealthy. I think a lot of Metal Gear Solid's camp is suitable to the orcs' humor, you know, like cardboard boxes, that kind of sillier stuff. As for a favorite, it's honestly hard to choose. I really do like the I guess I feel somewhat obligated to say I like the Firekeepers the best because they're my avatar on the channel and everything. But I'm not enjoying them the most. Maybe that's my cheeky answer. I guess my Firekeepers are my favorite, but I'm not enjoying them that much in 10th edition or presently in the hobby. Yeah, I think the wash over these scales is the right call, and I think just a simple blend to start will go a long way, I think, in letting that wash do its thing. So we'll try that on these lower hip plates. Sorry, I've drifted off frame. As I tend to do, of course. Oh god. Okay, well he's looking close, right? He's shaping up. No edge highlighting yet, but maybe edge highlighting will be a phase 2 process. I think that's a bit reasonable. It's kind of mundane, right? Like, do people enjoy watching edge highlighting? I feel like edge highlighting is most appreciated as a before and after. I mean, but then again, these hobby streams aren't really for watching. I assume anyone in the stream is hobbying on their own stuff. Maybe glancing up every now and then or typing in chat, right? Martin says, Assault Centurions and a Land Raider. Yay or nay? What are the Assault Centurion's abilities? That's the question. Let me do a quick googly goo. Check the Wahapedia. Assault Centurion. I cannot remember what they even do. I converted some Assault Centurions way back, but I've rarely ever used them. Melee weapons equipped by the student have sustained hits 2 against vehicles and monsters. Well, that's pretty good. Siege drills 3 attacks each. Ugh. Except 9 attacks. They're twin linked. You have 9 attacks with sustained hits 2. So if you have your Odes of Moment, they're strength 10 only. AP -2, 3 damage. I don't love the siege drills. How expensive are they? Wahapedia has them listed for 150 presently. I don't love the lack of volume. They're suffering from the twin-linked choices in 10th edition, right? Like more often than not, twin-linked is less desirable than having the extra shot. I find, it's just, I don't know if that's a hot take. That's usually how I feel about most twin-linked weapons. Because their Meltagun's also twin-linked, so each guy only has 1 shot. I don't know. I don't love them. I think if you're putting them in a Land Raider, like if you're putting something in a Redeemer, there's spicier picks if you're playing just for pure power, obviously. And I'm not a tournament competitive guy, so I'm not trying to encourage that. If you love your Centurions, I'd say make them work, right? But I don't think they're particularly good. The twin length hurts, man. And they're Hurricane Bolters. It's not a Hurricane Bolter anymore. It's a Centurion Bolter. Rapid fire 3 shots twin linked. So it's like their volume that they once had in 9th has been cut in half. And the strength is probably the same or similar to. AP might be a bit worse on the siege drills because melee AP went down overall from 9th to 10th, so it feels bad, like relative to their 10th edition stance. Oh, I see GZ subscribed. I appreciate that. Yeah, maybe that answers your question, Martin. George working on a Deimos tank? Hell yeah. There's something about that Deimos aesthetic. The council has spoken. Nay, added it to the list. Yeah, I mean that I'm saying that looking at the datasheet in isolation, right? There may be some synergies with other units, some combinations or strats on certain detachments, but as the datasheet goes, it leaves me wanting. We also got some scales on the rib cage here. Might as well hit that with some crimson wash. I wonder how much we can cheat. It's not gonna wash everything, right? It's come full circle. It's come full circle. Just cover the whole model in a wash. Why bother painting? Why bother layering painstakingly, right? Like sometimes like an aspect warrior, you get lost on the path, okay? It's like poetry. You do lose some vibrancy, but look, if you're playing to layer, you're going to layer back up. So maybe it's all the same at the end of the day. Okay, we'll let that cook for a bit. Maybe we should try and build up some dirty yellow on this helmet. So this has been watered down a little bit with glazing medium. So I'll do 2 passes of this and then we'll see. We'll see how it looks. I suppose it's similar in principle to my the workflow I suggested for white for that Henrietta was requesting. Because, like, you know, white and yellow are both chalky pigments, kind of a pain to use and build up. So maybe you don't use an off yellow, wash it, and mix in a little bit of your super vibrant flash skits and layer back up. Maybe that's the key. Maybe that's the trick. Twin linked. Spits, yeah. Deimos stuff is cheaper too. Oh, nice. We shall take up that question again when we get a chaplain in Centurion armor. Oh boy, those are the kind of creative custom characters I like to see. Get some of that that Rogel Dorn Imperial Fist kind of energy, right? A man of culture. I try. Oh no! Well, that's okay. We'll survive. Usually end up painting weapon casings last. And I think the plan is to... I have my Autarch here with a fusion gun. And the plan is to get kind of like a bluish... Well, it's actually just all black. There's no gradient there. Or it's dark gray with just a blue edge highlight. I think it looks fine enough. Oh yeah, so that's the plan for this fusion gun. Get that kind of same sort of end result. Man, I wish Autarchs could lead aspect units. You know, they're supposed to have walked amongst those paths, right? You'd think you'd be kind of tight with them. You know, that might end up being something in a detachment or something. Probably an enhancement, but I would prefer it just to be in their data sheet. Martin says, saw your video with grav weapons, how they lack anti-monster. Do tell me, don't you think monsters should have something like tank shock? I masterfully came to that train of thought all of my... Nice. Yes, I agree. Monsters should be able to tank shock. Yeah, it's a bit weird. What's the justification for not allowing them? You know what it was? Actually, we know what it is, or we know why it wasn't. It's because tank shock was based off of weapon strength before, and monsters often had really good weapons, or better in terms of their strength characteristic than a vehicle would, right? In terms of melee, you'd have your exceptions like your dreadnoughts and soul grinders and whatever, and that's what people abused. Hence why they changed it. But I'm willing to bet at the time of like designing those stratagems, that's why monsters were excluded. I think it makes the sense. Yeah, having the yellow gradient on those plates before the wash, surprise, surprise, looks a lot better. Who would have thought? Lack of tracks? I mean, maybe, but look, walkers, dreadnoughts were tank shocking. Battle suits were tank shocking. I don't think so. Then again, why don't metals have anti-vehicles? Wounding on 5s with meltas. Boy. Oh, meltas. Yeah, autocorrect. Gotcha. Yeah, why? Wounding on 5s with meltas is less than ideal, especially, okay? Now, I can wear multi-meltas on foot, wielded by, infantry, the sister of battle, in some cases, right? Wounding on 5s, right? And you'd still, wound on 3s on lighter vehicles, perhaps, right? Yeah, lighter vehicles and monsters, but for the vehicle grade weapons, like, there should be a bump in strength, right? When I made my video in 9th edition about vehicles being too soft, I'm pretty certain I made my suggestion, for how they should be handled is vehicle toughness needs to go up, but vehicle grade weapons should rise in turn. And GW only did half of that kind of equation. In some cases, vehicle grade weapons are better, right? Like you have the Predator turret, I think, is stronger than the handheld infantry-based last cannon, as it should, right? But like, don't like put a Contemptor Dreadnought with multi-melta beside a Sister of Battle and like get the hell out of here. That's not the same weapon, okay? This is ridiculous. Like you're not getting away with that. Right? And then same for the Cyclonic Melta Lance. Like it's not really a Melta grade weapon. And say that applies to all the I'm noticing a trend. A lot of Legends of the Horus Heresy inadequacies, right? The Gravflux Bombard, yeah, same again. That one's worse because it's actually like a worse weapon than the infantry held grav cannon, which is really annoying. I'm not a grav guy, but if I were, I could imagine a timeline where I was really into Iron Hands, and I'm like, yo guys, I love Iron Hands. Grav is the shit. It looks so sick. It looks so good with my black armor and those green details, right? And I would just love grav weapons, and then I would just despise the present landscape of them. Okay, he's looking pretty good. Still not as vibrant though. What did I do? What did I do for that guy? Just glaze some more Wild Rider in here. DS, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for tuning in. let me know what your hobby, and if you are, I'd love to feed off of your hobby energy. You're saying anyone else feel like 10th edition is really soulless? Bring back 8th. Yeah, in a sense, right? Like, that's kind of the thesis of my recent video. Yeah, there is... Like, I think if I had the flavorful options of 8th, I think I would... I don't know, maybe I'd be an advocate of 10th. But it's hard to, like, really praise it, because it's... look, I'm playing 10th more than I played 9th, because I like the core rules better. But I don't like what we've lost. At what cost, right? I mean, maybe it's not so much a core rules preference from 8th to 10th that I like. There's small things, like being able to lead units. I think that's thematic, and it solves weird situations where you would advance real far with the bodyguard unit, but the captain or the leader whiffs the advance, and now he's left behind, right? So it's like kind of, it's better in that sense. I think what I really like from 9th to 10th is the mission design, actually. I prefer that, because I kind of despised, like, I'm going to build my list and then choose my secondaries, and that's going to restrict the units I bring, and these secondaries are good, so that means I won't bring these units, and I just kind of was annoyed by that whole mission paradigm. So I honestly didn't play too much in 9th outside of a few organized events with my local play group, and I mean, maybe in part the pandemic is part of that, right? That's the pandemic edition, right? That could be a factor. The lack of playing of 9th. But 9th had more flavorful options than 10th, that's for sure. You had a word bearer's detachment, how about that? Crazy! Crazy, right? Wow. Who would have thought? Martin says, "Nah, I think it suits a casual shitter like me better than 8th. Bring back 5 though. Now we're talking." Yeah, I mean, look, this is just my opinion, man. Everyone has their preferences, right? And I just kind of prefer the mission setup where, you know, your objectives are dynamic, you draw cards, it's not all fixed, and you look at your opponent's army and choose the secondaries you want to, I don't know. I just didn't like that aspect and what it did to list construction. And then you had that's like when the action monkey kind of prevalence was kind of at its worst. You still have those units in your army, and people lean on scouts like crazy for the same reason, but at least here it's list design or list construction isn't being kind of coerced in a sense, right? You're like, oh, banners are banners are the best secondary for me to choose in 9th edition right now, and so I have to have 5 units of these to make sure I get all my banners, and like not the kind of spirit I want from my play experience. So do tell points for war gear? Yeah, I think... Look, it's more complicated. Harder for GW to manage, of course. Which is crazy, right? It's crazy that now that they've moved to a digital points management app that they're able to control and really increase the ease of which you could balance points on a faction or detachment basis even, right? Or Iron Hands Dreadnoughts especially strong because they have a stratagem for Dreadnoughts. Well, maybe when you're playing Iron Hands or Iron Storm Spear, whatever, maybe Dreadnoughts should cost a little bit more, right? Instead of punishing everyone's Dreadnoughts, which has always been the problem, like, well, since 8th edition kind of had these regular points increases. That's what we would see, right? Oh, Blood Angels competitive cheese players are ruining Smash captains for everybody. Well, everyone has to suffer the consequences of competitive abuse, right? Meanwhile, I'm just trying to live my dream, right? I'm just trying to put my Smash captain down, and I'm just taking 1, right? I'm not taking 3. Oh, man. It kills me. Here we go. Getting all worked up. Okay. Oh, shoot, we're a bit over time. Okay, I'm not gonna wrap it up abruptly. We'll do a coat of yellow over this helmet. We'll see if I can, if 2 coats is enough, and then we'll wrap up the stream, okay, guys? I was supposed to stop at 11, but, you know, time flies. Or sorry, I was supposed to stop at 1, excuse me. But time flies when you're having fun. We're 8 minutes overtime. So we'll put some more dirty AK's dirty yellow down over this previous coat. And I might need 3 passes, or maybe not. Maybe with a wash and then a build-up. Maybe that's going to be okay. Well, he's certainly looking better than we started. That's a victory of sorts. All right, one step at a time. One hobby hang at a time. I'll get these fire dragons done. No Smash for you? Yep. Aziz, welcome to the stream. I just saw your message. How's it going? Is the issue not a problem of audience and culture? There is nothing stopping us from home ruling a bunch of stuff to make the game play as we want, but the culture for that isn't there. Homebrew is usually frowned upon. Well, as a homebrew enjoyer myself, I know exactly what you're talking about. There is certainly resistance, right? I think, yeah, it is an issue of culture. I think, even in my play group, we don't go to tournaments, but we do play to win, right? We play competitively within the box that the game puts forth of the edition, right? And so I'm slowly like a river, right? I'm slowly chipping away at my play group's resistance towards like, let's just try some house ruled word bearers detachment, right? Let's just see how this goes, right? And so it's taking time. Yeah, it's a culture thing. I think there's 2 things going on. I think casual players get excited by the tournament scene, and I think, like, from a psychology kind of point of view, I think people get invested in, I don't know, like competitive pro play at tournaments use these rules, and now my play experience is more validated because of that. It's not the best way for me to put it. Listen, there's a reason why I script my videos, okay? But that's kind of the idea that I think plays a part in the reason why the culture doesn't really support it. But also, I think there's a genuine hurdle, a much more legitimate hurdle, with regards to like people having an understood dynamic of, I'm walking into the store, I want to play Warhammer, I know that means the rules are such, right? I think that's a bit more justified, in my opinion, for why the culture kind of prefers to play the official rules. And, you know, because if you're just walking into your store, you hear they play Warhammer on Sundays or whatever, and then you walk in with your army, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, you guys are you're playing 10th edition, but you're changing, like, you basically have a whole, let's say, like a stack, right, of changes for your house rules that you guys like. That can be a little off-putting, right? Potentially. But if the culture was in agreement with it, then maybe it's better. I don't know, that's my bias, though. I think it would be. Alright, like I said earlier, I am already overtime for streaming today. Look, painted a fire dragon. He's not as good as this first guy, but maybe it's just the edge highlighting that makes this one pop. That could be a factor. But yeah, look, good progress. Yeah, it's 2 out of 5. So probably, I don't know. I was gonna say maybe this week we'll be painting Fugin, but probably not. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna wrap up the stream here. Where's my tab? Where's my tab for my super chat? Right. So thank you to everyone who tuned in, shared in the hobby camaraderie, and joined me for a Sunday sort of fun day painting stream. I'll be streaming probably Monday, Tuesday, most likely, at more hobby hangs, and thanks to everyone who liked the stream, and especially Henrietta, who gave a very generous £10 super chat. That's very much appreciated. I'll be eating that good ramen this week. And with that, yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya!